Now the dust has settled on yet another loss for Tottenham Hotspur under Ange Postecoglou. The reactions have been in there many, and a lot of people are starting to doubt if the Australian manager has got the minerals to turn his form around at Tottenham. Many will blame Levy, a lot will blame Ange, and the problems just seem to be stacking up for Tottenham out of both cups and only have the Europa League really to play for. So today on the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, we're going to take a deep dive and see if us Tottenham fans were wrong about Ange Postecoglou. But before I go any further, if you are new to the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, then drop us a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also in the comments down below, what do you make of Ange? Should he be sacked or should he stay on? So yeah, my head is in a spin when it comes to Ange Postecoglou. I've backed him a lot, but I'm starting to have my doubts. I'm really not sure whether he's the man to lead Spurs forward. And more than ever, if it was Ange in and Ange out, I'm slowly going that way. And it's been creeping in since the Everton game, since the Leicester game, and since both these cup exits, because it's just been an absolutely troublesome time, hasn't it? It's been really, really poor. And it was sort of summed up after the game with this image that I'll put on screen showing how bad Tottenham's midfield has been in recent weeks and games. But to start, you know, as I say, because the dust has now settled, I want to go back and look at his post-match press conference, because he came out, he defended his players, and he gave reason to, you know, why we are in this poor run of form, and sort of talked about the last 2.5 months for Spurs, which have been very, very bad, to say the least. So let's play this clip.
For 2.5 months, this small group of players have given everything in multiple competitions. I think they've been outstanding, and we had, I think, 11 first-team players missing today. Started with 4 teenagers, a 21-year-old goalkeeper coming to one of the best teams in the country away from home, after playing the best team in the country on Thursday night, after playing in a Premier League game last Sunday, after playing a Europa game. The same group of players, no rotation. They've been doing this since the middle of November. I just think they've given everything they can. If you take 9 or 10, a back four of Vicario, Dragusin, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Madison, Johnson, Solanke, Odegaard, Werner, take them out of anything. How did Liverpool go today? And they just did that for one game. They do that for 2.5 months. Any team, do that for 2.5 months in multiple competitions. I don't care about me. People will judge me and whatever. But you can't judge this group of players on what's happened the last 20. They've given everything. The performance, like I said, 2 18-year-olds, a 17-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 21-year-old goalkeeper starting against, you know, one of the best teams in the country at home. They've had a week off. They didn't play Thursday night against Liverpool. We did. Same group of players, not a change. You know, you can't measure this group of players on that and their performance and where they're at. It's too easy for people to be critical of them. Me, that's not of interest to me. My responsibility at this football club is this group of players and this team to get them to play in the manner I want them to that will bring us success. Now, whether people think I can do that or not, that's for others to judge. But there's got to be a better appreciation for what a very small group of players have been doing for the last 2.5 months. It can't be that people think that that's an excuse. That's just not anywhere near close to objective analysis. That's just agenda-driven stuff. If it's to get rid of me, then that's fine. You know, good on you. Go for it a million times. But in terms of this group of players, like I said, what they've given over the last 2.5 months has been outstanding. It's a credit to them. I can't speak highly enough of them.
Actually, with the injuries, is it not worry for you this week the team doesn't seem like a crap Postecoglou team? The way the team's playing?
Look, I don't know how else to explain it, right? So I really don't know how else to explain it other than if you can't see that this team is just trying its hardest to play under the most extreme 2.5 months of asking 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds and senior players with no rest to play Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday. I'll keep going for 2.5 months. And if you think that that is not at all a factor of how this team is performing right now, then there's nothing else I can say. There's nothing else I can explain to that. No, because they're tired, mate. They can't. Do you think they can press like they... If we hadn't have played Thursday night and I had rotated that team, you think we would have been pressing a bit more aggressively today? Fair chance, unless you don't think they're human beings. Unless you're sort of superhuman, you think, no, after playing Liverpool Thursday night, they should be flying today. It doesn't happen. They're human beings. Why do you think Liverpool and other clubs rotated 11 players? Why? There's a reason. I wish I could do the same, so you can bring a freshness to the team. So, of course, they're not playing anywhere near the levels that we want and expect. But that's not because they're not trying. That's not because they can't. They can. I keep saying, I think this group of players, once we get the rest of the group in, will be an outstanding team. I've got no doubt about that. Whether other people see that or not is of no interest to me. But if you want to measure anything on what they're doing at the moment, other than the fact that the extreme situation they're dealing with, then I think your analysis is skewed. It's not objective. That's my opinion.
So what I want to do is I want to open up a debate and let me know in the comments section about what he said about the last 2.5 months. Because obviously the last 2.5 months have been really poor. We've only seen ourselves win 2 games in the Premier League since December, including Southampton and wins against Brentford. We obviously beat Liverpool in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final. And we've won 2 games in the Europa League, which, it sounds like an okay when you stack it up, but a lot of poor teams in that, Elfsborg and Hoffenheim. And, the Hoffenheim game could have gone either way. So, when Ange is talking about his injuries, this is where my first problem comes with him. And this is what's quite interesting. So Ange is talking about injuries. He's saying how many players we've had out. Mickey van der Ven, Christian Romero, Destiny Udogie, Timo Werner, Maddison, Solanke, to name but a few. And yes, that's a massive issue. It's a huge issue having all those players out. And he mentions Liverpool. If Liverpool had Salah, Van Dijk, Gravenberch, Bosley, all those players, they'd be in the same boat. But, first of all, a lot of teams have injuries. Arsenal have had injuries. Newcastle had injuries galore last year. Manchester United have had injuries. A lot of teams have injuries, and you'd think in this scenario, they'd still be able to adapt. That team against Aston Villa was still strong enough. I don't care what people say. I know there's a lot of youngsters, but they've got a lot of good experience. But the senior players in that side, Son, Bentancur, Basuma coming on, they should know better, really. So that's my first issue. And also with the injuries, you could argue that a lot of Spurs' issues through injury come from Ange Postecoglou. And I'm not talking about training because I think that's a bit of a myth. But the way we play, in possession, we, are just, not using the ball effectively. And we're seeing a high amount of turnovers against us. We're running up and down the pitch. And if I put this graph on screen right now, it shows that the sort of style of play that we are playing. And look at where Tottenham are on this graph. It is becoming a bit silly. So we're running up and down the pitch. And also our press, which Ange Postecoglou was renowned for, has gone to absolute pot. We don't press well. It's not effective. It's, headless chicken territory. We're running around aimlessly. It's not been good enough. So I have a problem with that. The thing I like about him is he is defending the players. He does come out and say, he's backing them, unlike Conte and Mourinho would chuck them under the bus. I see that. But it's because he's caught between a rock and a hard place. He's running out of excuses because it's all well and good beating Southampton. But, when you've been kept on by Daniel Levy to succeed in these cup competitions and the displays that are going in and the tactics and being carved open in the first minute against Aston Villa, it is not good enough. And it won't be good enough. It won't be tolerated because it won't give Daniel Levy any other choice but to sack Ange Postecoglou. And I've spoken about many videos how Levy is to blame. I'm not going to talk about that today because, I think I've done that to death. But this is all about Ange Postecoglou. And I just think there are moments where it's just naivety at this level, where it's just, he showed against Brentford, he was trying to change, he's been tweaking, he's mixed around midfield, but lately our midfield has been absolutely horrendous. It's been so poor, not supporting the young and naive defence, and the attack has just not been linking up the play. We're not scoring any goals. And when we do, it's just been absolutely woeful. And we even saw in the Villa game, Matthias Tell out on the left wasn't working, got moved to the striker point, little too late. We're literally not having any luck. We are going into a game, and what is said at half-time, because it seems like we came out and we were better, but in the first half, we were terrible. Tottenham have not been able to stitch 45 minutes together in a very long time. And I'm going back to probably Pochettino. Same under Conte, same under Nuno, same under Jose. It's just been poor all around. And, many people over the last few days have had their reactions and talking about Ange and sort of what is next to him.
Now, in the weekend's biggest match, Tottenham host Manchester United, do you think there's a chance that Postecoglou could get the sack if they lose this game?
No, because of the Europa League still to come, the latter stages. I don't think it's good on the CV if he loses another one, because, I think if Man United were to lose that game, then they start, hierarchy start looking at Amorim and thinking, okay, this will be the 9th defeat from 21 games for Manchester United. Both teams really, their records recently are not very good at all going into the game. I'm just interested to see what players that can come back for Spurs. The manager keeps talking about a whole, 11 players out, but there's still, 3 or 4 that are played at the weekend. Okay, it's still a big number of players missing, but one by one they seem to be coming back in. No Maddison in the front of the pitch, Solanke out, but there's 1 or 2 in there. They should still be doing better than they are right now. It's the manner of the performances in the last 2 games particularly would have upset the fans. So, let's just see. Maybe this is the game now that they build their season on. I think you go from game to game with this manager right now. If they beat Manchester United, suddenly he can change the landscape and build towards the rest of the season.
Listen, Jeff, we all know the expectations at every club is that they want to win something every year. We went obviously deep into the League Cup. We managed to get to the 4th round of the FA Cup, but I think the most realistic competition is the Europa League. Everything's now in that Europa League pot. We have to go for it. League positions disappointing, and the opportunity is still there for what would be a big season. We saw it with West Ham a couple of years ago under David Moyes that. They were capable, they were able, and they made it their priority. It's without a doubt Spurs' priority now.
I understand that it's hard to judge them at this moment in time when you've got so many players out, and people would come back at me and say, well, look at Bournemouth, how they're coping, look at Aston Villa, how they're coping. But I think sometimes you just miss key players, and key players that are going to start in his side. You look at Liverpool when they were without Van Dijk. They struggled. He's a key player for them. You look at Manchester City without Rodri. So it's always going to be tough when you are missing those, your number 1 goalkeeper, your 2 centre-backs, your full-back. Bentancur was missing for a period of time, your forward. So that whole spine of the team is out, and that's why I just feel it's quite difficult sometimes to judge a manager when you have got so many problems within that side. You've got young players that are coming in, that are playing out of position. And then he talks about the fatigue element, which is, again, something you can completely understand, because you're going to be fatigued if you've got to keep playing the same team over and over again at weekend, midweek, weekend again. So I do feel for him.
The mood isn't good among Tottenham fans, with only the Europa League left as a realistic chance of silverware this season. More protests against the club's ownership and chairman, Daniel Levy, are planned for Sunday's game against Manchester United. Now, this is an illustration of why there is just so much frustration amongst the fans. The club is trophyless since 2008, and in the 17 years since then, the other 5 clubs in what is typically referred to as the Premier League's Big Six have won 59 trophies between them. Current League One sides Wigan and Birmingham are among those to have lifted a trophy more recently than Spurs.
When you speak to Tottenham fans, that is their main frustration. It is about Daniel Levy and about they want, more sort of investment into the squad. And yeah, that must frustrate Tottenham fans. And I think they're just frustrated in general, because at the start of the season, I was quite optimistic for them. I thought, the way that they were playing, we all enjoyed watching them play, and they just haven't reach those heights. And yes, there's lots of reasons why they haven't reached the heights that we all wanted to see them do. I think that the fans' frustration is a lot on the owner.
because it is an excuse. Look, all teams suffer injuries. Don't get me wrong, I understand that they have a crisis, but part of the reason that they have a crisis is Ange Postecoglou's doing. Like, the reason that their two centre-halves are so chronically injured, for example, is partly because of the tactics that Ange Postecoglou likes to play. You know, if you have centre-halves doing 60-yard sprints 5 times a game because they're being caught in an awkward position and someone's got in behind them, they're going to get injured. Equally, the reason why they are chronically injured is because they were rushed back. Do you remember the game against Chelsea where both centre-halves went off in the first half because Postecoglou managed that situation totally incorrectly? It's ridiculous, Ollie.
Do you know what else as well, Rory, is that you could have seen this coming at the start of this season, because if you remember last season, Spurs weren't even in European competition, and they were still having these issues. Mickey van der Ven still had these issues picking up his hamstring problem, the other injuries across the pitch as well. If you add into that a European campaign, it was only ever going to get this bad, which surely feeds into the fact that this is Ange trying to blame bad luck. But actually, like you've pointed out, this is to do with, surely, the way he trains and the way he plays as well.
It's to do with him, his whole approach, his whole setup, his whole team. Everything around the Postecoglou system causes these problems. And I understand why Tottenham fans have a gripe with ENIC. I understand why they are not supportive of Daniel Levy. And to be totally frank with you, I back them in that. I think that Tottenham are a huge club that deserve more. I do genuinely believe that, despite the fact that I'm not always very kind about them because they are massive rivals of the team that I do support. However, it's so poor the way that he has managed this situation.
But when I look at, Spurs, and I did the game on Thursday and I was very harsh, but I think I was right, and I think I was proved right yesterday. When you talk about quitting, it's not like you just walk off the pitch and say you don't want to play. Quitting is not wanting the ball, not making tackles, not doing the basics right, and just hiding. And whenever they go down, so it was 3-0 down against Liverpool, 2-0 down yesterday, then they turn up and play. It's like the shackles come off, like, oh, we're going to lose again, so now I may as well try and make myself look good. And it was disappointing, and I'm disappointed in that midfield because there's quality in there, but there's no one taking ownership and leadership and going, right, Troy's the enforcer. I'm going to go and tackle people, and you guys are going to go and play, but we're going to get about. It's just 3 people running around aimlessly, and every single time they just get passed through the middle. It's quite sad, to be fair, to watch it, because they're much better than that.
So yeah, we are in an awkward position with Ange Postecoglou because there's a couple of scenarios. We keep him on and we give him more time. We literally give him another season or so, which who knows what will happen. We sack him and we just, go to the end of the season. It might be an interim, it might not be, who knows. Or we give him until the summer, give him the Europa League, see if he can keep us up, and then sack him in the summer and replace him with someone then. But who brings it? It's just, there's more problems than solutions for this team, and it just becomes really confusing about what is going to happen next, because I don't think Ange Postecoglou's got any answers at the moment. I don't think Daniel Levy's got any answers at the moment, and it's just so many issues, and what I do, and this is my final big point, Ange Postecoglou, again, talking about injuries. You got to remember, he neglected Jed Spence for months. He had Sergio Reguilon there and didn't use him. With the goalkeeper situation, there's a lot of the club stuff and defenders, but he had opportunity to rotate more. Everyone will say, well, the players are tired, they're knackered. A lot of them have played max minutes because he hasn't been bothered to rotate early doors. Pedro Porro's played max minutes because he weren't willing to rotate Jed Spence. And then Udogie got injured and he's had to go on to the other side. So there's issues throughout where we've seen this. And that's where I have a problem with Ange Postecoglou. But you're going to have to let me know in the comments down below. What do you make of Ange? Do you want him sacked? Do you want him kept? Let me know all your thoughts. And until next time, leave your likes, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for a very special video with Alice Talks Football coming probably tomorrow. So put your notification bells on for that. But until next time, ciao.